My guest today on Starter Zero is Mayor Glenn Jacobs of Knox County. The mayor also is a WWE champion, and I'm really excited to talk to him about all things government, efficiencies, technology, what's coming in the future, what he's going to do next. So stay tuned. Welcome to Start at Zero with me, Avi. I'm the founder and CEO at Avero Advisors in Knoxville, Tennessee. And we're sitting here in our global headquarters, downtown Knoxville, and I have a really special guest today, Mayor Glenn Jacobs of Knox County. Mayor, thanks for making time today.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, and we'll keep this conversational because I'm so fascinated. Of course, I'm going to try to keep my fanboy hat off from your WWE days, WWF days.
Yeah, both.
The real deal,
Yeah,
right?
right,
And as I was telling you, growing up in India, we didn't have cable. So what we would do is go run to the neighborhood video store, rent the cassettes for SummerSlam, what have you, from 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah.
So we were always behind, but it was such a big part of growing up, watching you and your colleagues perform and take a beating on your bodies.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you.
It was a lot of fun. We had the collector cards and the trump cards and all of that.
Yeah.
And it's a great memory. So with that out of the way,
Thank you.
let's get on to business.
And I will say, yes,
Yeah.
I've made a number of trips to India over the years, both performing but also promotional tours.
Yeah.
And it is immensely popular. Wrestling is just huge.
It's
WWE
huge.
is huge. Yeah. And
Yeah.
It's always a great time too. People in India are just so friendly, and I've always had a good time when I've gone.
Yeah, and I've been here for 22 plus years. Came here as a grad student and made America home, and it's great to have both sides of the cultures, and it's opposite worlds, but really thankful for everything this country's given me. So here we are. You've done a lot with your life. Started off as a third grade teacher.
Well, so I never actually got into
Oh.
teaching full time. When I graduated college, I actually started as a computer science major.
No way.
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Now you got to understand though, this is the late '80s.
Yeah.
I graduated high school in 1985. So computer science wasn't quite what it is today.
Yeah.
I mean, you're literally programming with Fortran or
Yeah.
COBOL Basic, and it got a little boring because it was highly technical
Yeah.
and not like kind of fun. I think like software development is today. So I switched majors. I wanted to teach and coach. I was playing basketball and then football later. So I got a degree in English, but I lacked a few hours of getting my teacher certification.
Gotcha.
So I did some substitute teaching, and that was kind of where I was going to go. And then my life took a different turn. But yes.
Yeah, and I'm curious. So what turn did that take? I mean, you've been an insurance businessman.
Sure. Well, that was when I got into wrestling.
Okay.
I'd hurt my knee playing college football, and I wanted to play in the pros, obviously,
Yeah.
and that wasn't going to happen. So really, I was just kind of floundering with my life, trying to figure out what I wanted to do. Was going to go back to college and finish up that teaching certification. And then, like I said, I got into the wrestling deal, and that just kind of took over.
Yeah. And why teaching?
Well, for me, again, it was really the coaching that I wanted
Got
to
it.
do. I'd played athletics all my life, so I wanted to coach, have an influence on young people's lives. Some of the most influential people in my lives were my coaches through high school, actually middle school, high school, and college. So I thought that would be a good career path for me if I couldn't play sports anymore.
And it's such an important part of anyone's life, right? Coaching, mentorship.
Sure.
Got to have someone to look up to. And it's a noble thing to give back.
Yeah,
to people
absolutely.
what you know.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can tell you, I wouldn't be where I'm in my life if it hadn't been for my basketball coaches and my football coaches. They were my parents, obviously the biggest influence in my life, but outside of them, it was always my coaches who were the people that taught me life lessons.
That's amazing. So here you are, you run a large county, one of the largest in Tennessee, if not the US.
Yes.
$1.1 billion budget annually, and this is your 8th year
Yes.
in office. And you've done all of that without raising property taxes,
Yes.
right? And it's pertinent to me because we only work with governments, and government funding comes from you and me and taxpayers, and it's really important to keep that in check. So how did you manage to do that while around you and around the country, it's easy to raise taxes?
It is. I made a commitment when I came into office. I didn't have many campaign promises. I didn't do any campaign promises, but I said I wasn't going to raise property taxes. So that's something that's really important to me. The main thing is finding efficiencies, which is not always easy because my predecessor, now Congressman Tim Burchett, he was very much the same mind. So it wasn't like I could come in and just start chopping away at the budget because Tim had really leaned things out to begin with. But there is always efficiencies that you can find. So we've done a lot of that. We've been very fortunate. We've had a lot of organic growth, both in our property tax base, also our sales tax base, as well as tourism, hotel, motel tax. So that's things that we've really pushed, is to be a business-friendly place, to attract businesses, to attract other alternative forms of funding, as opposed to. And you'll realize the property tax is basically, that's the one you can depend on. Because sales tax, hotel, motel tax, those things are very dependent on the economy. If the economy goes into a recession, those drop. But nevertheless, between finding the efficiencies, growing our property tax base, and then also growing those other revenue streams as well, we've been able to keep property taxes low. Our budget, which seems like it's grown a lot, but actually when you adjust it for inflation per resident, we've had a lot of population growth here too. It's really been flat over the last 10 years or so. So I think for us, it's just been a matter of saying, this is what we're going to do, and then actually doing it.
Yeah, and you mentioned efficiencies quite a few times, and that's the business we're in, finding efficiencies for governments. What's the biggest sort of area you found that can still become more efficient, not just Knox County, across the board? Government.
I think it is like, one thing is now, especially, I know we'll talk about this in a little bit, but especially like with the advent of AI, a lot of just the processes that take place that at this point, you don't necessarily need a human being to do those. They can be automated, taking better advantage of technology. Again, with my computer science background, that was something that was really important to me. I'll give you an example. And it's also listening to the people that actually know. So the example that I'll give is with our engineering and public works. Years ago, my engineering and public works director's like, hey, I want to do this thing. It's a pavement management system. We were one of the first in our area to do that. And basically, we have to pay money up front, but a van goes around and catalogs all our roads, and then assigns a numeric grade to those roads. That allows us to make much better decisions about where do we need to repave, what kind of asphalt blend do we need to use, all those sort of different things. So that money that we spent up front to have the initial work done, and then there's some ongoing cost involved with that, but it allows us to be much better. A lot of times what happens with things like that is you're just reacting. People are calling in. So you're just reacting. You're just reacting to, everybody's calling in about this road. Well, now we can go and actually say, well, that road's an 84. This one's a 43. That one's, the 43 is actually where we need, to do, to repave or whatever. And the 85 can wait a little while. And that allows us just better manage that particular system. And that's true in other areas as well. Whether it's accounting, just some of the other things that any organization is going to do, not just government.
And it's great that you started on that, because that data is going to be invaluable, as and when you jump into the AI space. That'll get even more efficient, forward-looking, predictive. So that's great. So the state's AI council just released an action plan recently, and it's inventorying AI use cases. And what we're talking about is a perfect use case to leverage that. Where's Knox County, or what are you thinking in terms of AI deployment within the county?
For us, at this point, it's going to be, again, just the next level of automation, and those kind of repetitive tasks that really doesn't need a human being to do. In fact, it's a better allocation of labor resources if a human being's not doing it, because a lot of cases those are very tedious tasks. I think that the term AI has become really mysterious, and people think it's magic. All AI is just, it's just learning and making connections at a much faster level than human beings can do, because just the computational power involved. I have a Cybertruck, most awesome vehicle on the planet. And what Tesla does with their self-driving, obviously, is you're just pulling all this data in from millions and millions of hours of driving. So it would take me 100 lifetimes or more to get the same data that Tesla does, right? But it's not magic. It's just literally brute computational power mixed with massive amounts of data.
And they're using that now to do stuff in space and nuclear power.
It's crazy, here in Knox County, I'm saying East Tennessee with the Oak Ridge National Laboratory, what they're doing there. They have the world's fastest supercomputer, actually two of them, I think, but they're doing work in human genome work and actually breaking things down to the point where you can customize medication and those sort of things. Again, it's not magic. It's just pulling massive amounts of data, and then with brute computational power, being able to do these immense amounts of calculations. And that's what we have to think about. People shouldn't be scared of AI. If you look at it that way, it's a tool. It can be very beneficial. And again, yes, some jobs are going to be replaced, but a lot of those jobs are, if you go to a factory now, with automation, you won't see people doing a lot of the repetitive tasks that you would have seen in the past. The robots are doing those now. What that does is that frees people to do the more important stuff and also the higher paying stuff.
Yeah, you're right. It's become a boogeyman, sort of, right? Because again, what we hear in the news, and who's talking about doomsday scenarios because of AI?
Right.
It's such a powerful tool. I haven't been as excited about tech since 1999.
Oh, really?
When I discovered HTML and I could build websites.
Yeah.
And it's that kind of moment. It's the industrial revolution all over again. And it's like we discovered oil. What are we going to do with this?
Right.
Are we going to make cars or build roads, or what's going to happen?
Yeah, every time you have this disruptive technology, obviously everybody freaks out. I get it. But in the private sector, when you look at, say, the internet revolution, there's massive amounts of wealth that were created as a result of that. And the same thing I think will happen with AI, and it's just a matter of people figuring out where their place is in that and how to leverage that particular technology. Government's a little different, because we have certain processes and certain, we do move slower, and there's a reason for that. And the reason is because we have to be very transparent. Even in the private sector, you're transparent up to a point, but at some point people are, making decisions, and, with us, everybody has to know what we're doing, and all the stakeholders have to approve it, basically. So it's just a little different. And I think that the challenge for government is being able to figure out where AI fits into that particular scheme.
Yeah, and so what we've found is there's a mismatch. Governments always had the ability, because they're slow by design, to leapfrog bad technologies.
Yes.
Right? So you went from server farms in your basement where somebody built an ERP system for you to the cloud all of a sudden, and you didn't even have a commercial ERP system on premise. And now we're seeing the same thing with AI, but the difference is what you pointed out. Are we ready for this?
Right.
Can we move as fast as the commercial companies can move, and is it the right time?
Right.
But doing it the right way, and there's a methodology to that, right? Getting ready for it, making sure you have the data and the processes and the people are taken care of. Because the people that are freaking out are those that, they're the factory workers of 10 years ago.
Right.
You take this thing and you copy it here and put it over here.
Right.
That's what's at danger of replacement, but in a good way. Like you said, you can reallocate those resources to do more stuff, more customer-facing things.
As on a societal level, I'm a big believer in education, and it's basically upskilling, for those folks, and that is important. And the same thing for us, as we incorporate different things into what we do. It's not like we're gonna one day all of a sudden, hey, all you have to find a new job. It will be phased in, and the folks that are doing whatever job, yeah, they might transition to something else, but they also, again, they might be doing kind of the same job, but just much more effectively with the AI and the automation helping them along the way.
And customer service, right? Why do people go into the courthouse or city county building? It's not so they can interact with the chatbot. They can do it from home.
Yeah, no, I think, again, big picture, like I'm a big tech person, but man, I hate the switchboard on the phone. Like press 1 for, I want to talk to a human being, and no matter how good the AI is, I never feel like you have that personal touch. So I actually think that in many ways, the personal touch will become even more important because AI will take so much stuff that people are going to be like, I want to talk to a human being, and that's just not, maybe years and years from now, but for the foreseeable future, that's not something that AI is going to be able to replicate.
It's not. And I was playing around with voice agents last night. We've built one in-house to do our internal work. And I hooked it up to this telephone service and I said to this bot to call my number, and it did.
Right.
But it was like, hello, I'm calling on behalf of AV.
Yeah.
And then I said something and it was 4 seconds later, it responds.
Right.
And I'm sure I was doing something wrong, but you're right. It's not there. But even if it was, I want to talk to people. Yeah. And it's true in our business, right? We do consulting. Why do people hire consultants? Not because we can give you fancy reports. It's you want to talk to an expert. You want to talk to someone that's been there.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
I think those skills survive the ability to talk to a human being, build relationships.
Might even be more important.
Yeah.
Because if you think about it, as more folks migrate to the AI platforms, people that are still doing this job, they're going to become more important because there might be fewer of them, but they're going to be more highly skilled at those interpersonal relationships.
100%. And that's what I tell my, colleagues here, very young people, sharp, and they're naturally worried about what's happening.
Sure.
As we automate stuff in-house, the questions obviously come, what's going to happen to the lower end jobs? And the answer is, some stuff that we require lower end, entry-level people to do is getting done by AI. But what does that mean? Doesn't mean we're going to let people go.
Right.
You upskill, you become better at dealing with people.
Right.
And learning how to use those tools, like putting Lego bricks together and being able to tell a good story is going to be critical.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. By the way, did your Cybertruck fit in our garage?
It did.
Wow.
It did.
That's a tight garage.
I did find an empty spot next to it though. So.
Oh, good. You have to take two. You have to take 2 spots. So what does Knox County's back office look like? I mean, I know you're doing stuff on pavements and stuff, and you have an ERP system, and you've got a great IT staff. What does it look like today compared to where you came in 8 years ago?
I don't know if there's been a whole lot of changes. We're just like any other organization. We're going to have payroll, benefits, HR, all of those things that actually make the organization run behind the scenes. We have our finance department. So I don't know if that's changed a whole lot. I think that, again, our processes have probably gotten better. Our IT department, when I came in, that was a complete overhaul. Our IT department, in my opinion, was behind the times. So my IT director, my chief technology officer, actually, Zach Webb, he's done a tremendous job of, for instance, when I first came in, this is 2018, you would call IT if you had an issue with your workstation, and they would still come up, and have a person work on it. Well, instead of getting into the system remotely, and those sort of things. So it was a lot of little stuff like that really made, I think, a pretty big difference. Our county commission has just gone to electronic voting instead of, everyone saying aye or nay, and again, that just makes everything faster. The record's right there. You don't have to have someone writing everything down. So a lot of times it's just those things that you may not really think about that are the small stuff that in the end, aggregate make a pretty big difference.
Yeah, and that's a great point because we do strategic planning around technology for counties. And a lot of times the agency is so far behind, they have the right tools, but things like that, high touch customer service, where someone needs to come to your keyboard to do stuff, when you have the technologies to do remote work, and it's the small stuff that matters, answering the phone call, responding to a ticket, the little things that make people feel like they have the right tools and the IT staff to take care of them and let them do the best work they can.
Right.
It really is the small things that make the strategy.
Or the ability to actually collaborate through whatever platform, it's Microsoft Teams or whatever other platform, that instead of taking paper copies of stuff back and forth, you're all working on the same document.
Yeah.
All those things, they actually do make a really big difference.
You've talked about the imagination economy. What does that mean to you, and how should, all of the things we're talking about today, creativity, imagination, where do you fit in the AI workforce? Tell me a little bit about what you meant by that.
Yeah, for the imagination economy, I mean, we're now in a world that when I was a kid, I would have never thought possible. It was science fiction.
Yeah.
I mean, you have Elon Musk sending spaceships, and he's going to go to Mars at some point. I talk to my Tesla. Okay, I tell it where to go. It's like Star Trek.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, and Captain Kirk is talking to the Enterprise, like whatever. That's never ever going to happen.
Knight Rider.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But we're here. So and you look at all the technological advances that we've seen, not just in the last century, but in the last
2 years.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. So that's, and then here, we're a hub for nuclear energy. There's some amazing things that are going on with nuclear energy. Everything that we've talked about thus far requires massive amounts of electricity. In my opinion, the only thing that can get that up to scale is nuclear. Small modular reactors. There's a company here in Oak Ridge that's actually working on molten salt small reactors, which is completely different than we've seen before. There's a company working on fusion. Again, science fiction. And fusion may not come online for a couple decades, but still, 50 years ago, no one thought that was possible. So what does that mean? What does the future look like? I mean, and it really is. I look at someone like Elon Musk, who's one of my favorite people because of his entrepreneurial spirit. Everything that he does, that all comes from ideas. It all starts in his imagination. Then it's making it work in the real world. And we're at a point now where some of these ideas that at one point were just fiction, science fiction, now we have the tools to make them reality, which is, if you think about it, this is the coolest time to be alive.
It really is.
Because there's literally no limit on what people can do with technology now.
And on Elon, it's fascinating. People can have ideas, but he executes.
Yeah, that's the thing, right?
On all of them at the same time.
Right.
And I want to just sit down with him and ask him, how?
Yeah.
Of course, he's got great people around him too, right? I mean, that's also the key to executing on ideas. Just need the people.
Yeah, you need the people, but you also need the tools.
Yeah.
And 30 years ago, the tools didn't exist. Now they do.
So you've also launched the first jail exit ID program. Just pretty innovative.
Yeah. So in Tennessee, if you are an inmate at a state prison, the state issues driver's license and ID cards. And if you've lost your driver's license or ID card or whatever, they will provide you one when you're released. The counties couldn't do that before, but we worked with the state, and we're the first county in the state of Tennessee where if you're an inmate at a county facility at our county jail and you've lost your license and you qualify, you can get a driver's license or an ID. The important thing is when we talk about recidivism, that's when people commit another crime, reoffend, and go back to jail. one of the drivers is just the fact that you get out of jail, you don't have any money, you don't have any place to stay, your family's mad at you, you don't have a job, you don't have a driver's license. How are you going to succeed?
Yeah.
Without an ID in our society, literally you can't do anything. So that's another one of those small things that people don't think about, maybe how important it is, but it's vitally important. And really, it's, the point is, it's not only to help those folks that are coming out of jail, but it's also a public safety measure, because if they don't reoffend, if we give them a better chance at successful reentry in society, they don't reoffend, that means lower crime rate, means fewer victims, which is something that I think we can all get behind.
Well, it's also workforce, right?
And it is,
We've been in a labor crunch for the last 6 years now.
Yes.
And those people on the margins, they don't have ID.
Yeah, they can't get a job, they can't do anything.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. You've done a lot of work with City of Knoxville, in coordination with, which is a rare thing. And I work with cities, counties nationally, right? What does it take to, and you guys are in the same building. It's wild, city county building in Knoxville.
Yeah.
One side is the county,
Right.
one side is the city. And I remember going in there during the COVID years, and I had to remember which side was mask on, mask off.
Right, sure.
But but regionalization of services is so critical because these are political boundaries, but the people don't really see it that way.
Yeah, when say we're recruiting a business, they don't know where they're at. They don't care, And if you think about Knox County and East Tennessee, like this morning, was over at the chamber and doing something. There are some folks from Denso there. Denso is located in Blount County, but they have almost 6,000 employees and huge economic impact in our area. The Knoxville Airport is actually in Blount County.
Yeah.
Okay. The Great Smoky Mountains National Park, which is one of our tourism drivers, they get about 13 million visitors a year. They're located in Sevier County. The Oak Ridge National Laboratory, which is technological driver I was talking about, computational science, AI, nuclear energy, that's in Roane and Anderson County. And then we sit in the middle of all that. It would be very foolish for us to basically get into a turf war and say, hey, we're not going to work with anybody else because, it's the assets in many cases that we have are not just in Knox County. Obviously we are the economic, cultural, our big thing here is healthcare, what the hospitals are here. But nevertheless, we're drawing from all these other areas and just, we're all working together. Those people, I was talking with someone at the chamber, they said, well, Denso's in Blount County. I was like, yeah, but a lot of those people live in Knox County.
Yeah.
A lot of them shop in Knox County. They're still contributing to the Knox County economy. And it's the same, and that to me is one of the most important things is, even though you're a local official, you have to think about not just your particular district, county, whatever, but really the whole area. And when you do that, I always say that, what's good for Knox County is good for East Tennessee. What's good for East Tennessee is good for Knox County.
Yeah.
And when you do that, you're actually able to leverage more assets than you might particularly have in your particular jurisdiction. And you're right. Like when we just recruited a big business to come here, and they're actually not in the city of Knoxville, but they'll say they're Knoxville, and they still want to have a good relationship with the city because they're close enough, and they're not going to make that distinction. And who cares, really?
Really, and as someone that didn't grow up here, I've been in Knoxville for 10 years now. The company was founded in Blount County.
Yeah. There you go.
Moved.
Right.
To me, it's East Tennessee, and it's the greater Knoxville area.
Right.
And we've had a lot of success bringing great businesses, right, in the region. Smith & Wesson, Amazon has a big presence. Greenheck, Beehive Industries.
Yeah.
A lot of tech too.
Yes.
Not just nuclear tech, but hardcore SaaS businesses, AI businesses. It's hopping in this region. Do you see us becoming a tech hub of some sort?
Yes, I do. We still have some work to do in that. If you look at, say, Silicon Valley.
Yeah.
It's a much more mature tech economy.
Yes.
And what I mean by that is that there's literally one-stop shops. You have a bunch of people working there. The labor force is very thick. You're financing, you have your venture capitalists, you have your angel investors, and it's all right there. We're not there yet. Our labor, we still need more tech people. And that's kind of a chicken and egg argument. They need someplace, they need companies to work at, the companies need the workforce, but we're building that. And then once you get that workforce, and the economists, like I said, they call it a thick or a thin workforce. And once you start to get that thicker workforce, that becomes more attractive to other companies because hey, they have an environment here. Same with the capital. Again, it's not just like you're going to have someone, hey, I'm just going to hang out in Knoxville and, finance these companies that don't exist yet, So it really is, it's just growing the whole thing. But I do believe that we, at least to some extent, we're going to be able to do that just because of, there was Oak Ridge and everything happening there. Then even before COVID, there was a trend to the people wanted to move to the mid-sized cities because of quality of life. The big cities for a lot of folks, just
not for me.
So we're perfectly situated in that. For me, I love Knoxville. It has everything I need, right? If there's something that I want and isn't here, Nashville's 2.5 hours, Atlanta's 3 hours, then also you look at educationally, we have the University of Tennessee is here, but University of Kentucky is 2.5 hours up the road. Vanderbilt's 2.5 hours. Georgia Tech, which produces huge amounts of engineers, is like 3 hours. So we're sitting also right in the middle of just all these great institutions of higher learning that are putting more and more emphasis on the tech sector, maybe specializing in some different areas, but nevertheless, with all of those things, and also our geographic location, 60% of the nation's population lives within an 11-hour drive of Knox County. So that gives us a lot of advantages as well. So I think that we can. I think our chamber, which is the lead on that, and they've been intentional about doing this, but I think that we need to continue with building a 21st century economy.
Well, and all the makings of it are here, right? Again, as someone that didn't grow up here, prior to East Tennessee, I was in Baltimore, big city, lots going on. What's cool about this region is that everybody wants to make it something. And everyone's in it and sees all the wonderful stuff that's going on with education, like you said, Oak Ridge, and unsung companies in Knoxville that are doing great things nationally. It's just fascinating.
Yeah, people would be probably a little shocked if they learned some of the businesses that are already here and are either expanding or are coming here.
Hey, we love being here. So let's talk about the road ahead, if that's okay. This is your last term as mayor. What's next? You're not going back to wrestling?
No, I'm not. Maybe, I don't know.
Maybe. I mean, you just wrestled in 21, right?
Yeah. That was, when you get to be this age, though, that was like ancient history. I might do something with the company. I still work with them, obviously, on things. But I'm not sure. I've loved this job. It's been just tremendous. I mean, just like everything else, it kind of has its ups and downs. But when you sit back at the end of the day and think about all the stuff that you've been involved with and hopefully the positive influence that you've had, it's the most rewarding thing I've ever done. It's just amazing. So do I stay in politics? I don't know. It really depends on its timing, and if there's something that I would like to do that I think my skill set would fit, great. If not, I'm gonna do something else. I don't know at this point because we're still a few months away from when I have to make a decision.
That's awesome. I hope to see you in leadership because it's been fun watching the growth around and your leadership. I've been in some meetings with you where I've seen your style and decision making. So it's been just great getting to know you. I'm going to ask you one wrestling question because it came from a roommate of mine, Keith Lohr. Keith asked you, what was the deal with the one-day championship win that you had?
That was actually really cool, because first of all, you have to remember that even though I only had the championship at the time for one day, Andre the Giant also only had it like for one day.
I remember
So
that.
yeah, so
Yeah.
there's it's only one day, but there's only been so many WWE champions at the same time, and I count myself in that. But what was really cool about that was it was awesome winning the championship, but in wrestling, it's all about the crowd reaction, right?
Yeah.
And the next night, losing it back to Stone Cold Steve Austin, that was just unbelievably over the top. So that was actually, as weird as it sounds, it was cooler to lose it than it was to win it. And again, I was honored just to be able to hold it for a night.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
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 Do you get to keep it? Like, what's the deal?
No, I have a couple belts in my office, but they're either gifts that people have given to me, but no, you have to give it back.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you on record, The Undertaker was my second favorite wrestler.
Okay.
Is that better?
Okay, thanks. Yeah. Normally people, thanks. I really love The Undertaker. It's like, what about me?
Yeah, no. It was cool. Just, again, to geek out on WWF and E growing up.
Yeah.
We had cricket, Bollywood, WWF, and that was it. Mayor, thanks for coming by.
Thank you so much, man. I appreciate it.
It's been
Thank
amazing,
you.
and
Thank
good
you.
luck with whatever you choose.
And
for
good luck
next.
with what you all are doing. And it is really important, to everybody out there, if you're in government, finding those efficiencies and people that can help you realize that ultimately what you're talking about is saving the taxpayers money. And that's what it's all about.
It is. Taxpayer money, efficiencies, and now with AI, I mean, the sky's the limit, like you said. It's the imagination economy. You can think it, you can do it. Yeah. But like you said, government is slow, sometimes get in their own way. But our approach is, that's okay. There's no need to rush this.
Right.
Because there is no AI boogeyman going to get you.
That's right. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Mayor. So that was Mayor Glenn Jacobs. What a fascinating conversation. And a lot of it resonates with me because I wrote a book about it. It's about to come out in the spring of 2026, which is maybe in the next month. Go sign up at startatzero.averoadvisors.com for a signed copy and a lot more freebies. Thank you.